agenda for him, but let's go through and we can start with Captain Flynn. Um, and he can give us the crime statistics from District 4. Captain Flynn, can you unmute yourself, please?
I thought I did. Can you hear me
We
now?
got Yes.
Okay. All right. There should be some slides that accompanied this, but basically for the last 4 weeks. Um, Last week, we actually our statistics were trending down. As far as vehicle thefts, we had two for the week, and of those two, both were involving people that either left their keys in their vehicle while it was parked, or left their vehicle running in front of a convenience store. And basically, they were crimes of opportunity. So had those victims actually basically just taking that one additional step of taking their keys with them, those vehicles likely would not have even been stolen. Our burglaries, again, we saw a reduction from 5 the previous week down to 3. Of those 3, one was basically it was like a disturbance. It was a known person who burglarized it was a ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend situation where they went while they weren't there and burglarized their residence. There is no real connected pattern. They're not in the same area, and the methods of entry and that are nowhere similar. So there's not really a pattern there. We did have one robbery that was actually a believed to be a drug deal gone bad type situation. And I will say, over the last few weeks, we've basically been running around one. We had the 1 week that was an anomaly in week 4 where we had 4. But of those 4, again, we had 2 that were known people, and it was some type of dispute that basically turned into a robbery. So the stranger on stranger robberies, we're really not seeing those right now. Um, uh, the hopefully that trend will continue. We have been very aggressive up in the areas where we did have back during that week where we had 4 up on Mount Zion Road. We had a couple of convenience store and then a restaurant that were both. They weren't armed robberies. They were basically just it was like a strong arm robbery type situation. No weapon involved, no anything, and it was just money from the cash register that was taken in those situations. But we have saturated those areas, and as you can see, the numbers have greatly reduced from that. As far as thefts, we're basically holding steady with 26. A large percentage of those are identity thefts, and we only had one package theft. Where we have been having a problem is catalytic converter thefts. We have had over the last 3 weeks 2 to 3 a week. Last week again was an anomaly. Heritage Cadillac had 11 vehicles, brand new vehicles that had their catalytic converters taken from them. In 2 of the incidents over the last 2 weeks, we've had some suspects and we've had some vehicle descriptions. The first one was an incident that occurred over on Valley Hill Road, and there was a red Dodge pickup truck. There were 2 black male suspects and then a white male that was driving the truck. And that truck actually hit a vehicle fleeing when the victim saw them. So it's going to be a red Dodge pickup truck with damage. And then the one that happened, it was a Chase Village Apartments this past week. The victim actually heard them because what they do is they use like sawzalls, power saws to cut the catalytic converters off to get the platinum inside it is what they're basically after when they're doing these things. And she actually heard them sawing and went out and basically scared them off. And she did not really give a description of the people, just said it was 2 males, and they got into it was a black either Ford Fiesta or a Ford Focus, but it was a 2-door vehicle that was seen fleeing the scene. And on all of these, of course, they're happening in the overnight hours. So it's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning type time. So if everybody can just be vigilant. If you hear anything, please call us. We are working extra details. We have some undercover people that are out working stuff, and we're being extra vigilant, trying to see if we can't catch these people before this really gets out of hand. As far as our call volume, we've in the last 4 weeks, just sector 4, we have responded to 4,404 dispatched calls, and our officers have self-initiated stuff. That's, anything from traffic stops to just pulling out, making contact with somebody. 2,968 for a total of 7,302 calls for service that the sector 4 officers have responded to or self-initiated. And of course, so far this year, we've had 2,842 reports. The biggest, like I said, the biggest thing that we've been having a problem with is the catalytic converter thefts. Entering autos have been way down. They've been averaging 2 to 3 a week, and there's, again, no real rhyme or reason to those. Some of them have been residential, 1 or 2 have been in apartment complexes, but some of the common themes on those is vehicles being unlocked. And again, it's not going to necessarily prevent, somebody from breaking into a car, but it seems as though these are crimes of opportunity. Somebody looks into a car, sees something that they want in there, and they just check the door handle and it's unlocked, and they go in and take it. So, and that's pretty much what I have for this week.
Captain Flynn, this
Thank
is Judy Taylor. May I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Yes, I think you know that we've reported that we had a little bit of graffiti in our area.
Yes,
And I
ma'am.
just wondered if you might go over anything about any gang activity that you know of in neighborhoods right off of Terra Boulevard, maybe north of Battle Creek Road in that whole area. And there's some graffiti down on that fast lane, little store that's on Battle Creek right behind the rental truck place down there and everything too. So are we attracting gangs, and do we have a problem?
As far as attracting gangs, there's not been a real focus of activity. Unfortunately, with gang activity, a lot of times, it takes your robberies and entering autos and car thefts and things like that. The gangs use those as initiations. So, you're not necessarily going to know that it's gang related unless you catch somebody. The one that I can speak directly to, it was actually 2 weeks ago up on Upper Riverdale Road. We had a person shot. They were shot in the leg. In attempting to talk to them to find out what had actually occurred, that person identified himself as a gang member and basically refused to cooperate with us because he was a gang member. And that's a lot of times that is, that's kind of their thing, is they do not talk to the police. So as far as like just any known gang activity, not a whole lot that I can go into that I can just say definitively this was gang activity. Obviously, the graffiti is a sign. The one thing I will say about the incident that occurred over there in your neighborhood was it just said blood gang. A lot of times those are juveniles who are just essentially reflecting the gang culture. They may not necessarily be in a gang. They may have a local group that they call a gang, but a traditional, actually connected to the, organized crime type gangs, they're going to actually be more likely to put their own names or, their street names, things like that, or the actual name of their gang set or symbols of their gang, things like that, is the traditional type of graffiti that you see from the actual organized crime type of gangs. Not that it is any less of a concern, because if these kids are emulating gangs, that's just, it's like a gateway or a doorway for them to go into other activities. And we have been pretty heavy over in that area, the, Sherwood, Patton, King, Jet Road, over in that area. We've been doing some various details over in there, not just in reference to the gang activity, but in reference to some of the other complaints that citizens have voiced. We have been over in there for the last several weeks, pretty heavy, and we will continue to be over in that area to address those concerns.
Thank you very much. We appreciate what y'all do for us all the time. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. I was going to have him address your questions. I couldn't get to the mute button fast enough. You beat me to it. How about Captain Green? Do you have anything to add for the Riverdale area, please?
All right, here I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning.
Morning.
Riverdale area, I've looked around my area that is under District 4, and we don't really have any issues there, thank goodness. Our crime sector wide is still trending down just as Captain Flynn's is. Our statistics looks very good. We do have some converter thefts as well, but mine were up on the Clark Howell Highway area. We're just as busy as everyone else, trying to keep crime down, using a lot of methods, undercover cars, anything we can do to keep the crime down. But as far as your area goes, we don't have anything that is that's sticking out at us that we're really having an issue.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Captain Green?
Yes, I had a question. This is Anthony Dean. Just wanted to know between either Captain Flynn and Green, there are new apartments and things like that that are going up, especially in my area around the Mount Zion area. And just wondering, is there any preparation or any concern of how do you guys prepare for, new residents, when these apartments and things go up? Is it a matter of, getting more officers or, the beats or more safe stations, police stations? How do you prepare for, more residents coming in the area to make sure that our crime statistics, go down or stay level where they are?
Okay, a lot of that is going to be obviously crime statistics driven. We report all of our what was on my slide that was up earlier, what's called Part 1 crimes, and a lot of that is driven by that. Chief Roberts has been very vigilant in the efforts of getting additional officers and bringing on new officers into the department. I don't know that it's necessarily focused on, just apartment complexes coming up or those, population numbers, because, we have a very transient population. We have a lot of people that come through Clayton County on a daily basis in their commutes and things like that. So, the number of residents in the county, of course, via the census can drive some of those numbers, but we have a certain number of officers that we're authorized to have by the budget. And as that would, be something that the chief and the command staff will be looking at. And, it would have to go through the commissioners to get an increase in the number of officers and number of things like that we can do. What we do is as the precinct commanders is we look at the actual crimes that are occurring week to week. Each one of us goes through every report that basically is taken on our sector for that week, and we try to identify crime trends. We try to identify any things, and we speak to each other so that we can, like Captain Green was saying about his catalytic converter thefts. Right now, Sector 2 and Sector 4 are the two that seem to be having it. The other two sectors, for whatever reason, there have not been any catalytic converter thefts. So we're working in tandem with each other and providing information to each other so that we can be aware of, if there's any trends or anything, because, it might be happening to me. And if I don't talk to the other captains, they're not aware that it's happening. So we have a weekly meeting where we discuss these things, and we pretty much, the four of us captains are talking on just about a daily basis in reference to various things that are occurring within our sectors and about our concerns and different things like that. But as far as personnel itself, that's, the chief has got his finger on the pulse as far as that. And that's something that would go through the commissioners as far as an increase in personnel.
Thank you so much, Captain Flynn. Chief Roberts.
Thank you.
We'd like for you to sum it up for us, please.
Okay, I'll be glad to. And actually, Captain Flynn hit it on the head. we don't specifically increase our numbers related to specific sectors or areas or apartment complexes. My mission is to get our vacancies down to 0 and then increase the numbers as our population in the county has consistently increased over the years. Captain Flynn and I and Captain Green, we all patrolled together and saw a much smaller population. Now we're approaching, if not surpassed, 300,000 in Clayton County in this small 146 square mile footprint. So that's a lot of bodies on top of each other. And we need a lot of officers to effectively patrol and service the community. That being said, when I became chief, we had upwards of 60 vacancies. This week we have 22. And with that number, I have submitted or requested in our budget for additional personnel. I didn't think it was responsible when we had vacancies upwards of 40 and 50 officers to be asking for more. Our recruitment team has done a great job over this year, especially during the pandemic, whereas other agencies lost several officers. We've been able to maintain and reduce our vacancies and still recruit and hire quality officers to serve this community. So to your point, the way we combat the growth in overall population in the county as it relates to crime is to fill our vacancies and then request additional personnel to maintain the proper service to the community.
Thank you, sir. I
Thank you.
appreciate you guys. Thank you for everything that you guys do.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Dean. Does anybody have any further questions for CCPD? Okay, no further questions. Can we hear from Warden Nelson, please, on some updates? And we also have a question for you, Warden Nelson. Mr. Hutchinson, who's on the line, would like the code enforcement commander and officer's cell phone numbers for Sector 4. So if you don't have those now, I can get them from you and send them out.
Good morning, Denise, and good morning, everybody. Yes, I did get that question, and I do have some information. Just wanted to give you an update of some of the statistics in District 4 from January 1st to February 5th. The residential code enforcement officers self-initiated 273 cases. The commercial initiated 18. We performed 753 residential inspections and 206 commercial inspections. Notice of violations posted 231 residential and 19 commercial. We pulled on the residential side 288 signs, illegal signs, and commercial pulled 93 signs. Now, when I say illegal signs, also keep in mind this is part of the political signs that after the runoff election were still out there. So those necessarily were not illegal, but they were out there past their time. Citations issued 9 on the residential side, 0 on the commercial. We tried to get compliance through voluntary compliance through the business owner or through the resident owner. And that way we don't have to issue a citation, but sometimes it does force us to go back and issue a citation if things were not done. We conducted 3 blitzes on the residential side and 1 on the commercial side. And that's the District 4 stats. Now, this team also did blitzes on all mobile home parks, 66 notice of violations. Now, this includes countywide, 1 citation, 192 inspections, and they hit every single dollar store in the county, and Dollar General, Dollar Tree. We have 27 stores. They issued 12 notice of violations, and they were able to get all of that cleaned up. And I'll post this in the chat window if everybody can see it in just a minute. And I'll also post the contact information for the District 4 commander, and that is Lieutenant Larry Hunter. And his number is 770-912-9292. And his email address is larry.hunter@claytoncountyga.gov. And again, I'll post this in the chat. The District 4 supervisor is Helen Cothran, and her number is 770-912-9292. 696-8526. Her email address is helen.coffrin@claytoncountyga.gov. Probably the best way to reach either one of these commanders, if you need to, is just send them an email, because it goes straight to their phone and then they can respond back as soon as they open up that email. Captain Sean McDonald is the commander of code enforcement, and the direct line for code enforcement is 678-610-4755. We are physically located at 1285 Government Circle. There is a small portion of code enforcement officers that are still working at the Flicker Road complex, which we hope will be moving over to 1285, and everybody will be under the same roof. We are working did work a couple of really high profile cases in District 4 over the last month. The old Clarion Hotel up off Old Dixie, it's clean now. And we got homeless people out of there. We got it boarded up. We got a gate put up, and this was owner compliance. And the 23rd at the Board of Commissioners work session, I'll be doing a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation of what we've done so far in code enforcement. And you'll see the pictures, it's just amazing. They did it over 3 days. We're also working very, very closely with Tara Woods Apartments. I know Ms. Taylor's very, very familiar with that. We have made significant owner compliance with cleaning up the outside. However, they also had contractors in there renovating the apartments, and they weren't licensed, and we did an inspection. It was a shoddy job while they were in progress. So code enforcement contacted community development. They came out and put a cease work order on all of those apartments that were being constructed. But at least they cleaned up the garbage. They've drained the swimming pool. They're in the process, they should be, of securing that by putting a top over it. Their plan is to reopen the complex and have a swimming pool and make it nice, but they've still got a long way to go. And that's pretty much it so far for the last couple of months with code enforcement in District 4. And if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them, but all the information I gave you, I'll post it in the chat window so you'll be able to see it.
Thank you very much, Warden Nelson. Does anybody have any questions for Warden Nelson, code enforcement?
This is Judy Taylor again.
Hi.
Hey, I don't really have a question so much as I did want to say thank you so much to Warden Nelson. He is doing a great job and he's so responsive, and that really helps. Also, Captain McDonald is doing a good job too. And we really appreciate them, letting us know what's going on and keeping us posted and working so hard to clean up some of our worst projects in the area. Thank you very much.
And also Captain Nelson, or Warden Nelson, I'm sorry. I just want to say and let everybody know you did one heck of a job in getting those vagrants out and really cleaning up that old hotel there. I know it was a big job. It was one heck of a job, one heck of an effort, and you came through with shining colors. So just thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you, Ms. Taylor. I'm really very, very fortunate to have such a good group of dedicated staff that are committed to quality of life issues in the county. And we work together with the police department, we work with the sheriff's office and all county departments. And in the particular case of the hotel, the police department helped us clear the hotel. Actually, they did it. They brought their SWAT team in, and it wasn't that they were anticipating a bunch of armed people. It was training for their SWAT team, and the owner gave us permission to do that. And they did find somebody up there, and we had already given a warning that we'd be out, so some had already moved out. But we can't work without the quality people that we've got and the other departments working with us, and we appreciate that.
Thank you very much. I see we have community affairs here. Lieutenant Rodney Bryant. Lieutenant Bryant, do you want to give us an update on community affairs?
Detective, I appreciate the promotion, but I'm Detective Bryant.
Detective. Okay.
Yes,
I think you're great. So
With community affairs, what we're doing is we're actually following up. I spoke with Captain Flynn and addressing the concerns in reference to the catalytic converter thefts and the and the vehicle thefts. And as community affairs, what we're doing, we're pushing out to the public, awareness of these particular types of crimes, and also giving them awareness of things they can do to help to prevent them. And we're pushing all of those things out onto our social media platforms.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Detective Bryant?
Hello, this is Drew Andrews. I was in the chat placing my questions. I don't know if you were going to go there, but if I may ask my question now, my original question was for the Clayton County Police Department, wanting to know if a program would be implemented for officers to walk the community, a foot beat, if you will. And my follow-up question was, is there an alternative to the 911 calls? For instance, if there's a nuisance call, we see someone who appears to be homeless, and rather, it doesn't necessarily is an emergency call, but just one where we want some assistance for that person, or someone maybe experiencing some mental health issues. Again, we wouldn't necessarily want to get the police involved through the 911. So that's why I was asking if there was an alternative to 911.
I'll take it. I believe, good morning, Mr. Andrews. I believe Captain Green put in the chat a number for non-emergency contact, but we got away years ago from the non-emergency number situation because it caused too much confusion. Even though he put that number in the chat, it still goes to dispatch, so we can keep a record of all calls that are submitted related to a police response. That being said, 2 questions you asked, and I believe the captain responded, but I want everybody to know our units and officers consistently do multiple foot patrols and road checks in several communities. And if there's a need specifically for a resident to have a foot patrol in their community, all they gotta do is reach out to the captains, and I'm sure they will help facilitate the same. They are usually driven by crime statistics, and we have the officers doing most of the foot patrols in those specific areas, supplemented by multiple road checks and other operations where you may not see them. In reference to the mental health question, I'm glad you asked that. Commissioner Davis and the rest of the Board of Commissioners saw fit to support an effort that we're trying as an agency in reference to exactly what you said. I want to get away from having our officers spending energy in areas where they might not be as proficient as we like, such as mental health, such as homelessness, and other socially based issues. With that said, I was able to request from the Board of Commissioners a position dedicated to a police social worker who will be non-sworn to help respond to those types of calls. Now, this position is in its infancy stages. We had to create the job description and the appropriate requirements for the same, and now we should be soliciting applications for that position. My long-term vision is to have a person on duty 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just like a police officer, who can respond to those very things because they occur around the clock, just like crime. So yes, sir, we're working to meet the county's need in that arena too.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay.
Ms. Andrews, did you have more? I guess not. All right.
Okay. Thank you very much. I just want to make sure, I don't think Parks and Recreation is on. If they are, could you let me know that you're on and provide an update? And I don't think Representative Bernal is with us either today.
No. Well,
Yeah.
I tell you what,
So I'm going to let Commissioner Davis speak and wrap it up for us.
well, thank you. As far as Parks and Recs, we're moving really, really rapidly over here with the district, with the Lake Spivey Recreation Center. I know many of you all have utilized the facility thus far, and it's a beautiful facility. If you've not been over there, you got to come over and see it. It's amazing. We've got some very good state-of-the-art equipment. They are taking temperatures and really going back, sterilizing equipment when folks are using it. So we definitely want you all to get over there, utilize that, utilize the trails. They're amazing. We're hoping to expand those trails soon. We did have a small little holdup with some of the construction going on, but we're handling that just fine right now. But also too, I also want to give time to see if Tax Commissioner Baskins is on, if there's anything he'd like to add that's going on over in his department that folks need to know about.
Good morning, Commissioner Davis and District 4. How you doing? I was just going to just sit in and listen, but I'll just put a few notes out there, especially from Tax Commissioner's office. As you know, our hours have changed and it's working pretty well. Monday and Tuesday, we are open till 6 p.m. And I want everybody to understand that, you know, we want to make sure we catch that crowd that comes in after 5 o'clock. So if you're in a rush or anything like that, slow down. We're open till 6 p.m. On Wednesday morning, and that's every Wednesday morning, we have senior mornings. In other words, our seniors on Wednesday morning between 8 and 10, we have 2 windows designated for seniors only. So that way you'll be able to get in and get out. For those who have health issues, you're more than welcome to come in. And number 3, let's just make sure if you had to get just to get the decal, that's the sticker. We have kiosks at 3 different locations throughout the county. One is in the Kroger in Lovejoy, the Kroger in Riverdale off of Highway 85, and the Kroger off of Jonesboro Road in Lake City. You can always go there. That's 24/7. So if you have an issue and you need to get just the decal, you're more than welcome to go to the kiosks that will give you the decal right there on the spot. So if you should have any questions for the Tax Commissioner's office, feel free to call us. 770-477-3310. That's my direct line. So if there's anything I can do for you, let me know. Other than that, thank you, sir, for inviting me, okay?
Thank you, Commissioner Baskins. And also, I want to let everybody know, we know we're in some trying times here, and the Alzheimer's Center is having food drives every Friday, and I think they have 3 more Fridays to go that they've gotten a commitment from a big vendor to distribute food. So if anybody's in need or we know of anybody in need, let's not hesitate. Let's begin to utilize this food and get it to folks that are in need. These are some trying times. In this COVID, a lot of folks are still losing jobs, still not unemployed, and we have to begin to help our neighbors. So I want everybody to begin to utilize that. That's the Alzheimer's Center. I don't have the address in front of me, on South Lake, what is it? Mount Zion Circle, I believe it is. So we want to get everybody over there utilizing it. I know, Ms. Taylor, I think you had a question for me from the last one. I told you I couldn't answer it, but I did find out that the warehouse on Battle Creek right now, as it stands of last week when I made the call, from the last calls, they do not have a tenant yet in that that has subscribed to that building yet. So I just want to pass on that information for you to have that.
Thank you.
So, granted, I apologize for being late. We had some things come up over here, but also too, the question I wanted to ask folk for today was, and just kind of get your feedback, was about short-term rentals and find out where folks begin to stand on this issue. Go. I know we've got a lot of folks that have spoken up about short-term rentals and where we want to go. You know, do we want to totally deny them? Do we want to figure out a way to legislate it and put in a policy here? Or do we let them Airbnbs run free? You know, I kind of want to get the feedback from folks and find out what their thoughts are, even from, Chief, I know you're the one would have to patrol, and Warden Nelson, you as well. But I just want to get everybody's feedback to find out which way do we want to begin to lean with this issue.
I did have a question about that, Commissioner. This is Anthony Dean. Is that something that would be a county legislation type of thing, or would that be more of a subdivision thing where, the subdivision board, the boards on those specific communities do you recommend that they write something into their covenants about Airbnbs and short-term rentals, or is that something that countywide you're asking, should the county have some type of legislation about it?
Well, that's what I'm trying to get feedback for. I have my thoughts, which I don't want to put out right now. I want to hear from everybody. Yeah, it can't come from the subdivision. It can come from the county side. It might even come from certain municipalities. So
Listen,
go ahead.
can I jump in?
Sure.
Because we have had issues already with short-term rentals, specifically Airbnbs, and there are a couple of resolutions for the county already on the books that require any citizen that wishes to use their property as a Airbnb to apply with our Office of Community Development for the proper permit. And if that resident operates their property in that manner without giving the proper application and notice, then they won't be able to do so in the future. The dilemma is enforcement, and how do we do that? We've had a couple of residences. Of course, the property owners deny that they're operating in Airbnb, but should you go on the website, you see the property listed as such, if they even go that route. They might not even be operating as an Airbnb, but find other ways to broadcast that they're renting the property on the weekends or whatever else. So we do have resolutions on the book for the county, as I think it should be for the county, and not unique to different sections of Clayton County. I think that would create some confusion. And I also think that if you're going to apply some type of enforcement, it needs to be uniform across the board and not for certain areas, because we don't want to disenfranchise any portion of a community by selective resolutions. That's just my opinion, not the opinion of anybody else, but I'm saying it because as the police chief, I'm not comfortable with selective enforcement in any area of Clayton County. So if we're going to have resolutions, they should be applied across the board, not for specific portions of the community.
I agree with that, Commissioner DeMott. I think people should be able to have that option of being able to use their home, as a short-term rental. But I do think that across the board for Clayton County, there should be a guideline that needs to be set for that, and that they need to comply with that guideline. So I agree with having some type of across the board legislation or ordinance for them, but I do think people should have that option. I don't think it should just be off the board totally, but just strict, specific guidelines on how they should operate it. That's my opinion.
Commissioner Davis.
Yes.
Yes, this is Judy Taylor again. So the older subdivisions do not have homeowners associations in a lot of cases. And so countywide control of this would be much better and everything. We don't need anything else that brings in more traffic, more noise, more crime, more whatever that we're having a difficult time with now, as far as trying to keep down the noise and to keep down a lot of different traffic and everything. And also, we don't really need anything else to do that. So I would hope that there'd be good controls over this, if it is even allowed to have short-term rentals.
And thank you for that. We just got a question, and which is a great question. It's, what is short-term rentals? How long? And from what I see there, most folks are coming in for 2 weeks or less. A lot of people are coming in for weekends to do weddings and just to have blow-up parties. So we see that happening, but what is the official definition of short-term rental? Where is it capped at? Is it 30 days? Is it 15 days? I mean, that's something, Chief.
Unfortunately, I've had to entertain these questions with those properties that you talked about.
Mhm.
And in the county ordinances, there are definitions for short-term rental and vacation rental. So it might be helpful as we have these discussions that community development be involved and
Okay.
those ordinances be referenced. I can't remember the time constraints or the differences, but they are slight. I do remember that.
Okay. I'm writing that down. Great, great. Any other comments from folk on this issue? Yeah. And you know, for me, this is helpful because I do like to get folks' point of view on this so that we can begin to move forward in a very positive and progressive way and beginning to help this community to really nourish in the proper way and that we want to see fit. We don't live certain places because we did not want to live there. We want our community to define who we are and as an individual and as a whole. So I do thank you all for that. Do we have any other questions on any other subjects that folks want to bring up? Any issues, concerns?
This is Judy Taylor again. I sent in a comment about wanting, or a question, wanting to know what is happening with Keep Clayton Clean and Beautiful. There seems to be a lot of misinformation as to whether it plans to be abolished or whether we're going to do more with it, or what is happening with that and what's going to happen, because we certainly need something that helps us keep all the trash and litter off our roadways and everything else. Could you go over maybe possibly what is happening with that program?
Keep Clayton Beautiful was implemented roughly about a year ago. Because of COVID, they've not been able to really get out and implement some of the programs that they wanted to. At the last work session meeting, they did go over an extensive list of programs that they want to begin to implement in order to some adopt a road programs, as far as dealing with the schools and really getting with the schools and just more or less beginning to instill cleanliness in a lot of our kids at a young age. So they are doing this. Right now, there is, I want to say it's coming up on the agenda Tuesday, that they want to abolish. I do not want to abolish Keep Clayton Beautiful. One of the reasons, the major reason why, is we've not given them ample enough time to show a return on investment because of the COVID situation. They could not go out, they could not do what you could normally do before this COVID. So they've had to get creative and come up with new ways. And I think they have come up with some new ways. And now for me, I want to give them every opportunity to show success. The program is not an expensive program, so I think we should be moving forward with them in the proper way. That's my state. We've got 4 other commissioners, or 3 other commissioners and a chairman that will also vote on this. For me, I do want to see it involved. We need anything and everything possible available to us to keep this community clean. We're going to have blight and we're going to have trash somewhere at some point each and every day. I wish we could get rid of all of it, but we cannot. But we've got to get rid of as much as we can and keep it to a minimal. And that's where we're going. We utilize Warden Nelson and we lean on him heavily. We also leave on, and believe it or not, we also leave on the police department too. So we're leaning on everybody for these issues. But as far as I'm concerned, I want to keep Clayton Beautiful in existence and have them as another necessary tool in order to keep this community clean.
I agree, because I think we need to keep the program. We just need to make sure that it is working and that we are working with them and everybody, that they're doing what they can to educate the public and to do what they can to help us keep the county clean. I also had another question that I submitted about things that are upcoming, is about the fact that we have something on agendas that we're going to make some changes as far as group homes, boarding homes, the definition of family, all of those types of things. Do you have any information about what is that, tightening up ordinances about that, or is that loosening ordinances about what, what's going on, or what's going to happen with those ordinances? Do you know? I asked for community development maybe to explain that, but if you can, that would be helpful.
It's more of a tightening up of the ordinances and going ahead and really defining them holistically. Unfortunately, I've not looked at that and studied that this week on there in preparing. So I'll begin to prepare for that on that subject. But it is a matter of tightening them up. We have spoken about that.
Thank you. Maybe we could get some information about that, because I think they're going to have a public hearing that people would go in person to down at the Charlie Griswold Center. And then they're going to have a zoning hearing. Then it's going to be on the agenda for the Board of Commissioners to make decisions. And so people need to know about those things in order to participate or to give their input. But we have to know what's being proposed first to know whether we have input we need to give. Could we get input about what's going to be, some kind of input about what's being proposed?
Well, I'll go ahead and try to get some of that information to you, Ms. Taylor.
Thank you so much.
Now, and I see we've got another question about Terra Boulevard and Smart Pedestrian Project. Terra Boulevard is, unfortunately, I think we have our most pedestrian fatalities on that road. That is something that is of high priority. The problem that we have is that that's a state road. So we've got to begin to work collectively with it. Do we want to put it in the Smart Pedestrian Project? Yes, we do. It's a matter of how do we get it all done. And I know this is not the answer that you want to hear, but we've got to figure out how to work with state to put something in play for this, because even with just crosswalks, I don't think it's going to be totally safe. We've got to come up with something innovative, whether it's bridges or certain places or what, but we've got to do it. But expanding roads and putting more traffic on there just makes it more difficult for folks to get across those streets, and they got to get across them. And the traffic lights are spread out so far that they're taking many, many chances and trying to get through 6 lanes of traffic. And then I've got another one from placing no littering signs in the community. Warden Nelson, do you want to take that one? What we can place in communities as far as non-littering signs and what we cannot?
Yes, Commissioner, I just responded to it.
Okay.
The signs are put up through Transportation and Development, and they have put some signs up in some of the problem areas. You know, there's a certain number of signs that can be put up along state highways and state routes that have to be approved by the Department of Transportation. But on the side roads, they can put some things up, but unfortunately, people continue to dump there. And I know that the Keep Clayton Clean and Beautiful program, there are some educational programs that are expected to come out, and some widespread public service announcements, as well as educational programs in schools. So it is being worked on, but you know, the old song, signs everywhere, signs. And no matter what you have there, it's hard to believe we can put one up on a problem road and come back the next couple days and it's trashed again. They just don't care. We Corrections Department, we've got hidden cameras in certain roads that we have problem areas at. And if we can catch the violators, we do. And we use code enforcement, come back and cite them. We also take our code enforcement, now that it's under corrections, and working with refuse control and our inmates that are picking up the trash, we'll have code enforcement officers come out and go through the bags of trash and identify, and this is something the police department's been doing for years. They'll identify, if they can, a piece of mail or some information that shows who may be the one who's dumping the trash, and then we send a code enforcement officer out there and cite them. It's a never-ending job, and you know, we continue to work on it very, very hard, and but we're more chasing after the problem, and hopefully Keep Clayton Clean and Beautiful will be able to get ahead and educate some people and slow it down a little bit at least.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from anyone?
Yes, Freddie Edenfield here, either for Mr. Baskin or yourself or Commissioner Davis. Has there been an impact on the county's tax digest as a result of COVID-19?
Commissioner Baskins. Is he still there? Yeah, he's the one that's going to want to respond to that. From what I understand, our tax digest is still healthy. It has not dropped minimally as far as the digest goes. I know they're working on it again now. So I was hoping he was still there. He could answer that further for you.
My other question, Commissioner Davis, is has anyone done a deliberative study or assessment of infrastructure in the county, say within the last 5-10 years?
Infrastructure from which standpoint? We do have to do, we have to do a study every 5 years for the county, a long-term.
Okay, and I'm looking at, I know from a national perspective, we've got a 25, according to some of the engineering smart folks, about a $25 trillion issue facing us at the national level. And I'm just kind of curious as to what we're looking at the county level in terms of bridges, utilities, such as water and all of those things that kind of goes into how we fit into the state and national infrastructure costs. If it's a $25 trillion issue at the national level, I know we got to be staring at a portion of that at the county level.
Agreed. We have had, excuse me, we've had they had the bridge on 54. We've had that redone. And usually the state handles a lot of those issues because those are state projects. The county really doesn't handle it, even though we can request help on certain things and it gets added to their list. As far as our water is in perfect shape. Our Clayton County Water Authority is doing a fabulous job. We have one of the, if not the best water authority in the state, and our water and our water infrastructure is in top notch. It's one of the tops in the state. So from that, we don't have anything to concern ourselves with. As far as our bridges and roads, we do have some issues. I have even put forth, we've got a bridge on Fielder that we need some assistance with, and I've written on that. But for the most part, our infrastructure is pretty sound and in place. But as far as going in and doing in-depth study on that, that's something that, you know, I put down and we possibly need to begin to look at thoroughly.
Thanks much.
Anyone else? Oh. Okay. Okay, I see. That was just for you, Captain Nelson. Okay. But well, listen, I thank everybody for coming on this morning. If there's anything particular you want to discuss at the next one, please let us know. We always want to have some type of topic of where this county is going so that we can get feedback from all the individuals dealing with it. So that's one of the things we do want to begin to do and get it going. Anything else from anybody?
I have one.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, just one, and I won't hold this on, but this is to either Chief Roberts or the captains that want to respond. I've noticed that we've had various occasions of hot rodders going up and down Walt Stevens. Has that been a major concern, or have that been reported to you within the past 3 months or so?
Captain Flynn.
I'm trying to get it started up. Can you hear me now? All right. As far as on Walt Stevens, I am not familiar with anything that has been specifically reported in that area of, you know, I've been in this position going on 2 months. In my 2 months, I have not been personally apprised of anything, and none of my supervisors have advised me of any type of issues that have occurred on Walt Stevens. But if that is an issue, that is something that we will address in the coming weeks. Is there any particular times or days that this is occurring, or is it just in general?
I'm going to say mainly in weekends.
Okay.
Anytime between 10 and 2 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
You know, there have been over the years that I've been here, there are certain areas that they like to congregate for street racing and things like that. You know, we had for a while we had a problem up on Grant Road up next to 675. Clark Howell Highway was a big place that they used to like to get together, and it always was Sunday morning, and it was, like you said, midnight to 2 or 3 a.m. And there would be, I ran them off probably, I would say 5 or 6 times, where there were well over 100 cars out there on Clark Howell. So if there is an issue like that, what I'm going to do is I will direct my supervisors, particularly my morning watch supervisors, to monitor that area. And if we can find out, we'll wind up putting an operation in effect over there. And I will also talk with our traffic unit. If we can find that, there is a problem over there with some type of organized, racing. One and two vehicles obviously is kind of hard to catch, because we can't just necessarily stay over there. But if there is something that's going on over there in that area, we will get folks over there, and we will deal with the problem.
Captain, thank you so much. You
Yes, sir.
guys are doing a fantastic job in District 4 anyway. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Baskins, now we've got you back here. We had a question earlier about how's the tax digest been affected during this COVID season. Can you address that?
Basically, the pandemic has taken a toll, not on the digest, but on my office altogether. Pre-pandemic area, we were more engaged with allowing people to come in at a unspecific amount of people come in. Post-pandemic, meaning that we have to make shifts and definitely regulate the flow of people coming into the office. This is why we're trying to earmark people towards the kiosk to get their tags, especially the stickers. And we're limiting people coming into the building itself without being checked out for, the temperature, and definitely scheduling time where we can sit with them and go over what they need. As far as the digest goes, collection has taken a slight detour, but is back on track now, because the county has gotten to a point where it's more technology aware of what it's doing. So in other words, they're paying their tax bills through the internet. So I'm getting a steady increase of people paying off the internet. Just like I said beforehand, on the traffic tag side, we still have a lot of foot traffic coming into the office. So basically, it hasn't truly impacted the digest itself. It's just that collection has taken a shift, and it's more paying through the internet. I hope that answered your question.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. And Chief Roberts, Mr. Flynn, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Mr. Baskin, what was the area on Walt Stevens, just so I can narrow it down a little bit. We could maybe even have my morning watch folks do a road check over there in that area to try to curtail this a little bit. If you can give me a little more specific area, or just a region of Walt Stevens where we're talking.
Yeah, I would say anywhere between Camp and gosh, what's the name of this road?
At Spivey Road?
Yeah, I would say Spivey Road.
Okay.
And like I said, it varies. It's not a specific time, but definitely, you can hear them just, burning rubbers, drag racing. And I think it starts from the park area, and then they just take off going towards Henry County. So that's basically the time.
Okay. Well, I'll get some details out there in that area, and we'll see what we can find, and we'll roll from there.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Chief Roberts, I guess we got another last question here about the noise ordinance. We do have a noise ordinance in place. We've got a question about, is there an ordinance pertaining to sound level? We do have a noise ordinance. Chief, go ahead with that.
We do have a noise ordinance. If you go to Clayton County Municode, I believe it's section 62.3.3. It gives you the hours and the terms of the actual ordinance. I was trying to find it on my phone. That's not working out great. But there should also, it gives you the times, and it should also include the distance. But yes, we do have a prohibitive noise ordinance with hours included. Go to Clayton County Municode, that's MUNICODE. and you should be able to search just like we can and go to section 62.33. And it'll give you the exact terms. I can't see it on my phone. I was trying to do it while he was calling my name.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Concerns, comments?
Yeah, I did have one more question. How you doing? About just wondering the result. I know we were pushing very hard as far as with the U.S. Census to get as many people involved for many homes for Clayton County. Is there any result of that, or how we did, or kind of what was the impact of all the push and everything that we did for that? Thank you.
I don't have any results on those. I couldn't even comment on that right at this time, Drew, Anthony. Does anyone else know anything about this, about that?
Yeah, this is Drew Andrews. I can give you unofficial numbers. Unofficially, Clayton did just a little over 60% of people who completed the census. That was the last word. As you know, there was a lot of back and forth as to when the end date going to be, and finally, the federal government decided April 30th was the October was the last that the numbers was taken. So at that point, it was 60%. But Brecca Johnson was heading that up for Clayton County, and she's with the Department of Community Development.
Drew, do you know when
she should have official numbers?
Do you know when actual numbers will be released as far as population? Numbers will be released.
They were working very hard to have it. They were when I say they, I'm sorry, the federal government, the U.S. Commerce, Department of Commerce, was working very hard to have these numbers done before the year in December, but to my knowledge, it hasn't been done officially. They're still working on it, but I think Brecca would have your official numbers. But I just know I was monitoring, and the last time I checked in October, we did a little over 60%. So that equates to approximately, 60% of our population. If we say it was about 300,000, and each resident who did it will the county will receive approximately $2,300 for each resident who did it. So if you multiply that by 180,000 residents, that's about $414 million annually. And then over 10 years, that's 4.1 billion.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
This is Jean-Claude. I want to add a little bit further on the census results. The key thing that I want to say is when the Development Authority of Clayton County, the DACC, when we partnered, when we realized that was the biggest economic engine we had for the county, we partnered with Brecca, and at the time the numbers were at 40%, but we ended up increasing it by 20%. So therefore, as you stated, that's what's giving the county now up to $4.1 billion over 10 years. So that's something that's very important as one of our biggest economic development engines that we were able to do from assisting, working side by side with the county, with Brecca, where we actually increased the numbers from 40% to 60%. So that's a great kudos to all of us, although we could do better, but that was a good participation effort.
Hello, this is Atanya Funny. I saw something from Fair Count in their last newsletter. They're saying, as far as the federal government, we may not have finalized numbers till somewhere close to the end of this year.
Great. Hopefully those will be good numbers. Well, thank you for that, Ms. Funny. Anything else for anyone like to add?
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
being that they're gonna have an infrastructure bill at the end of the year, that's what everybody's anticipating. Should we start looking at putting together a list of infrastructure projects that can be shovel ready, or or things that we need to get done so that we don't get behind the 8 ball? Because you know, you like last time when they came out with that money back in 2009, 2010 on their infrastructure projects, those, if you were not ready immediately, you didn't get no money.
Gotcha. Well, I think that's a good idea. I think we always need to be ready in what we want to go and where we want to begin to look at. Excuse me. Yes, I think we always want to have our plans in order for the next 5, 10 years, 15 years. We've got to have those shovel ready plans in order, even if we can't fund them at this time. If money does become available and funding mechanisms do become available, we're ready to begin to move forward with it. So I think that is a good idea.
Yeah, because they're saying that that infrastructure bill probably will come up in reconciliation, as far as the next reconciliation will probably be October.
I was gonna say for a footnote, I think between county, state, and federal would take the lead on that as far as our infrastructure. It's a great idea that Commissioner Davis has said that we will be prepared for that for the next 5 years, 5, 10 years, to have that notated. But the funding mechanism is the most important part. I think Commissioner Davis is leading on that. That when they do, because I think this administration will be more forgiving, knowledgeable, and understanding to help fund that infrastructure.
Yes, I agree. Any other comments? Concerns?
Commissioner, Commissioner
Yeah.
Davis, this is Drew Andrews. I have a question. Do you know how often Clayton County performs a saturation study?
I'm not too familiar with what you mean by saturation study.
Well, a study that determines what do we have an overabundance of in our community. For instance, off the top of the head, I don't know, gas stations, the Dollar Generals, it's anything. And that way we have a better handle of what we want to bring in.
You know, honestly, I've not come across a saturation study of what you're alluding to. Most of them have come by meetings or meetings like this where folks say, hey, we've got too much of this. We don't want this in our community. And we'll begin to look at it from that standpoint. But having a actual study, I've not run across one. I can't say I have.
Hey, Commissioner Davis, this is Jean-Claude Bourget. Listen, that study, you can actually get one from Georgia Power because they have that information. So you can actually get that information from Georgia Power.
All righty, I'm gonna give them a call. I'm sorry, I can't talk and write at the same time. Okay, anything else from anybody? These are the type of information that we want to begin to put forth and ask the questions. We want to ask the questions where we don't have the answers, to where we can go find the answers to make this county a whole lot better. So I thank you for that comment, Drew. Anybody else?
My pleasure.
Nothing from anybody? We're good here? We've gone 14 minutes over past our usual. I apologize, Chief. But
no problem, Commissioner. When is our next one? I'm sorry.
Go ahead. The next one, our next one, oh my gosh.
Yes, sir.
March 13th.
It's March 13th?
March 13th, yes, sir.
Thank you. So March 13th is our next one. Any questions you all have, please send it to either myself, demont.davis@claytoncountyga.gov, or you can send it to Denise.Harrod, HARROD, @claytoncountyga.gov. We definitely want these questions coming in because we want to know what's on everyone's mind. so that we can move forward. Because if I don't know what's on your mind, we can't address it and make something happen. So I thank everybody for participating and coming out. I thank you, Chief, Warden, commissioners, and all our officials. Thank you all for coming out and supporting, and thank you for the job you do. And to all the citizens that are here, please let's get more folks involved. I mean, granted, I'm glad we have this many, but we need more folks. You know, with the size of our county, we want people to be engaged. We want to know what folks are talking about and what's really on their mind. What do they want? What do they want and what do they need? So thank you all. You all have a great and fabulous weekend, and have a very beautiful Valentine's Day and Valentine's weekend.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.